I don't know what happened. Woo! I don't know what happened, but that was good. Tega. I don't know what happened. Goodness. This Facebook Live thing, y'all. Let me try to get her back. And she was so good, right, y'all? She was really good. We're going to get her back. Don't worry. I need to find... Okay. Y'all, just like we're waiting on our speaker, like she was on there and we were having a very good session and then this happened. So I'm going to try. Hey, Esther. Hi, Juliet. How are you? Gloria. Hey, Esther. Girl. This is our third. Goodness. Okay, Tega. I see you, Tega. Tega, I see you. So just request me again. Or, okay. I see what you did. Okay, I've approved it. I'm adding you. I'm adding you. I've approved it, Tega. Approve. I approved. Their friends won't be able to watch this live video until they are in your audience. Yeah. Tega, it's still telling me. Wow. I don't understand this. Tega, request again. Request again. No answer from live video guest. That's what it's telling me. No answer from live video guest. Can you find a way of asking again? Or like this. Okay, so you guys, please just ask your questions about incest. Like, you know how I was saying that it's not appropriate to change your, like, wear your bra, take a shower with your sons, taking a shower with your daughters, because the mind is a powerful thing and everybody's mind is different, you know, and they could go on having, okay, our speaker is coming back. They could really, really go on having images of you, you know, images of your body and, you know, and one day, like, they're just going to do something. Tega, okay, it says it's adding you. Now it says it's connecting. Girl, go ahead.
Hey, well,
my goodness. Okay, go ahead.
okay, so where was I? So she was having intimacy issues. Her father wanted her to get married to someone that he could still have a bit of power over, because if it was someone that he didn't know, it would have been easy. It wouldn't have been so easy to keep requesting that she comes over. So he didn't even realize. Every time the father just kept, making demands, and then she said if she had known, she would have told him in the beginning that, look, this is what has happened. This is what's been happening between me and my dad since I was age 8. And I so that he will know if he's going to go ahead. But she was also afraid that if he knew it was going to cause problems, someone that wasn't ready mentally for that kind of information, losing out, because that's all she's known for 30 years. That's all she's known. So she didn't even know how to be. But even as it is now, going through her healing process, talking through the whole thing, she finally had to tell her husband.
Okay. And how did the husband react to it? Because I think that that's what people are scared about, is how their spouse will react to it.
At first, he was really upset. He was really upset, and thankfully, I was with them. I was with her, and she said she's ready to tell him, because I told her you have to be able to tell him by yourself. Let him not hear it from anyone else, because if someone else has to be the one to tell him, that's where there's going to be more trouble. So when he came to hear what was going on, I left the room and left them to talk. But I realized that the place had gone silent, and then she shouted for me to come in. He didn't say a word, but he was livid. But he had come to really love her. He had come to a point of protection. So he was angry with himself, but he realized that I need to protect you.
Yes.
So this is what you've been going through. Is that why you've been acting in such and such way? Is that why it's been so difficult to get you to open up to me? The thing is, the guy is a fantastic person, because even I think he figured that she has to be going through some traumatic experience, because he didn't even cheat on her through the process of her, acting up. He didn't cheat on her. He didn't sleep with anyone else. All the time she will push him away. They have 2 children, but he had come to the point of protection. He got angry with her. He got angry with himself. Why didn't you tell me? He went through denial. It's not possible. Your dad can't be doing this to you. He got angry. That man is such a good man. He's this, is that. He gave us all of this. And then she said to him, that's why he gave us all of this.
That's why he gave us all of this, so he can have access.
Yes, so he can continually have access, because he knows that if he does this, and you know this, you would never come to terms with it. And then he went through his own process of anger, denial, protection. Then he told her, now, do you want to talk to him? Do you want to face him and let him know that I know? So he stopped sending for you.
Yeah.
And she said yes.
Okay.
And so they went together,
okay,
called the father to a meeting and said, now, I have told him everything. And so you can't ask for me again. And the father was actually shocked. He said, no, what did you tell him? What could you have told him? You can't tell him that kind of thing. She said, no, I've told him everything. And the husband said, yes, she told me everything. She told me from what age. She told me all the things you gave her. She told me all the things you've done for her, even up until this house that you have given to us. And we are ready to give everything back to you.
Everything back to you. So for those of you who are just joining us, like, we are talking about incest. Now, how do we handle a situation with brother and sister, because they're still young and they're still in the house?
First of all, I think that from preteens, you need to separate, because these days children know much more than we know, much more than we think that they know. My core mainly is drug use.
To know when we were their age.
Yes, much more than we used to know.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I had this relative that was living in the house with us, and he would try to touch me, and I was maybe like 9 years old, but I remember I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't speak up, because I was afraid I was going to get a serious whipping, because I felt that they would misunderstand what it is that was going on. I used to shout. So one day I told him, I said, I will report you. And I shouted and said, I will report you. And then he stopped. He left me alone. Now, for some people, we were living in a 2-bedroom house. So my sister and her husband were in one room. We were in the other room. There was no other place to sleep. But if you have spaces where you can separate these children, I think that from preteen, you need to start separating them. When we were in when children start to look and understand that there are differences in their bodies, they're going to want to experiment.
Yeah.
And then hormones start rage. Before you know it, things start to happen. Recently, I was speaking to someone. Her children were already practicing sex styles that they saw their maid watching. Their maid used to watch porn. And so because they saw it, they now started innocently practicing that. Now, if you don't deal with that now as their children, just imagine that they grow up with that notion. By the time they're in their preteens, they're sleeping in the same room, they have no ways of exploring their sexuality, and they've already been predisposed to this. What happens? Children
Yeah,
know much
like
more than
that's
we think.
why we now have like the pedophiles and be like, because like when you were younger it was okay for you to be that way, so now that you're older you could just go grab somebody, just go rape somebody because it didn't stop when,
Exactly.
yeah.
There were no boundaries. There were no boundaries
Mhm.
whatsoever. So why are you putting boundaries around me now? My mind has formed. I don't understand the boundaries that you're putting. So they just go and then they just act the way that they act. I think that for preteens, begin to separate your children. Make sure they don't stay in the same room. They shouldn't get comfortable being naked around each other. I think
It
that
shouldn't be at
you
all.
shouldn't they shouldn't get comfortable being. You see some teenagers taking their bath together. 16, 17-year-olds. Yes, I think that that is wrong because in the beginning, they don't understand that this is incest.
Yeah.
So they would want to just, you know, experiment with each other. And then that's how we now start breeding stuff that just cause problems. I was listening to something a while ago. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but a father was trying to talk about how he started sleeping with his daughter. The wife had post-traumatic
Stress
syndrome,
disorder.
post stress disorder, PTSD, after having the baby. So she didn't want to have anything to do with the child. And so the child, he now stepped in as mother and father and was trying to make sure the child got nurtured and taking care of the child and all of that. So the mother, I think it was really, chronic. And so she didn't even want to have anything to do with him either. She didn't want to have sex with him. And so he was sex starved. I'm not saying it's an excuse,
I
but
get
now this is someone that already had something. I mean, I can't even explain the brain, how his brain worked that to that point. And then he was sex starved, and then baby walks up to him in the toilet while he was sitting on the toilet, tries to walk up to him for him to carry her, crawls up to him, and then she puts her hand on the toilet bowl to stand up to, reach him, and then she touched his penis.
you.
And when she touched him, he got an erection.
Hmm.
And then from there, he now decided that, okay, let him, try.
Hmm.
Maybe he would get sexual satisfaction from the way the child touched him. Then he started to put it in the baby's mouth. Before you knew it, it became a lifestyle. Before we knew it, the child got to the age where he started actually penetrating his own child. And
Hmm.
he slept with that girl from age 3. Age 3.
Hmm.
It's a crazy.
I get
So
it.
it's not something, and the wife didn't even realize what was going on. He was the one that he wanted to stop, and so he kept asking, looking for how to get help, and that's how he came out and eventually said, "Look, this is what I have been doing. I need to stop it," and this is how it started. Now, these things happen. I was going to answer that with someone that was asking, "How do you know someone that is an abuser?"
Yeah,
It's
like you
not
don't
written on
know.
anyone's face. No, it's not. It's not. There's no mark on
Like
your forehead that says,
there was something that you said that really struck a chord, especially in African homes. There was somebody who was raped like a few weeks ago, and they contacted me, and I said, "Oh, okay, well, because you're still living in your parents' house, thank God I have the connections to report that person who raped her. I know how to get in touch with that person. I know how to completely eradicate like that person, make them lose their job and everything. Like, I know how to fix that situation." But I said, but in order for me to help you, I am going to have to tell your parents. No. No, 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 ma. Please don't tell my parents. They will not even believe me. They will not. And you know what? The reason why I didn't judge her was because even me as a full grown woman, when I was visiting Abuja, I was in Nigeria, I went to buy suya. These police people thought that I was a prostitute. I don't know where they got that from. And they tried to bundle me into a car. 2 men. One held me here, one held me here. And you know that my father is Bishop Benoruma, right? So I know people, even Pastor Obi, I know people. But do you know that when I eventually broke free from that, I was like, okay, so it's time to call your dad now. This is me in my 30s. I was very scared to call my father. This is me as a grown woman. I couldn't call somebody who I knew could help me. And then, of course, that went on for some time. And then years later, I looked back and I was like, that's because when you were younger, I was used to always being dismissed.
Or not believed, yes.
Yes, dismissed over the little things. Over the little things. Yes. So in my head, now that I have a big thing, if you can't pay attention to me with a small thing, you're certainly not going to be able to pay attention to me with the big thing. And this is a problem in a lot of African cultures, is we are so, go into your room. Shut up. Don't talk when adults are talking. When you're doing things like that, you are dismissing your child. And then when something big happens in their head, you don't respect their opinion. So why should they come up and tell you if the houseboy touched you, or if your father is sleeping with you? They don't have that confidence because you have already squeezed that confidence. You have undermined them from when they were little. And I suffered with that trauma. Huh?
I said, so they've been conditioned to keep quiet.
That's why, even for you, you felt like they wouldn't believe you, because the culture, just the system is very dismissive. Like when somebody dies, like in Nigeria, you're still crying. You're still crying. Like, we're very dismissive. And so when major things happen, we don't say it.
You know, and this is why incest and rape and pedophilia and all those things thrive in Africa, because they make you believe that you're the one that has the problem. You're the one that must have done something to trigger that reaction. Yes. I have the right to be who I am. I have the right to be. Why should it be that because I am female, you should trample upon me and violate my rights because I'm female? That is the problem. It is the, I don't know what it's called now, something, conspiracy of silence or something like that. Because every time the girl talks, to ask you, what were you wearing? Like the day you say you were bundled, most chances are they'll ask you, what were you wearing? If you were wearing a long dress, nobody will say you were prostitute.
Because my husband had just come back from a very long trip. So I was wearing like a really, really nice red top, and it had a really thick strap. But okay, so now I remember. Here was a bit like exposed, and that was because like my husband was coming home. So as soon as he came home, he was like, baby, I want suya. So I quickly ran out to go buy suya, and I was on Gimbia Street, and you know that Gimbia Street,
and is the headquarters.
Yes, and these police people, whether I was naked or not, a policeman, you should have seen the car. Women were they bundled women in there. They bundled women in there, and I was fighting, and they stole my phone. And you're right. Wow. When I got home, I was thinking, if I call daddy now, he will be wondering why I wore this.
What were you wearing? Yes, that's the first thing they'll ask you. What were you wearing? How did you get yourself in this situation?
Even when armed robbers kicked me out of a car when I was in Nigeria, I was so scared to even tell them, because I didn't want to be dismissed. They may ask me, what were you doing there at that time of the night? And like parents, this is why you have to validate your children, and you don't validate with questions. You validate with
Absolutely.
You don't validate with questions. What were you doing? What were you wearing? Why are you talking like that? Why were you loud? If you were not there, that wouldn't
Yes.
even have happened. Didn't I tell you? No.
Yeah.
You validate with affirmation, not with questions.
I say this all the
This is
time.
why
Affirmation.
incest, abuse, even abuse, husbands are beating their wives, wives are beating. The reason why abuse is thriving is because there is no validation.
Yes. None. If I know that there's someone that has my back regardless, I will conquer the world. I would know that if anything happens, I can run back to my daddy. I can run back to my mommy. But every time parents are always making you look like you are a problem. Why did you have me if I'm a problem? Why did you have me? And then the thing is, most time, recently I saw someone, a little girl, she's about 5. Every time she runs to hug her mom because her mom is busy, well, that thing happened in front of me. The girl will run to hug her and then she'll push her, leave me. Can't you see I'm busy? Leave me. I told her, I said, this thing you're doing is it's going to cause problems.
Yes, sir.
She said, why are you saying that?
Comes up to her, she would agree. She will succumb.
Because she's craving attention. He's not even asked her what's wrong. Ask her what the problem is. What's the problem? What are you okay? What's going on? Allow the child to feel heard.
Yes.
Once your child starts to feel heard, they can come to you for anything. If a child feels that, and it doesn't matter. I keep telling people that a child's problems are valid. You may look at it like if it's childish problems, but to them, it is huge and it is valid. Yeah. It's valid. Mommy, I don't want to go to school because I don't like the way the boy in front of me looks at me. You don't tell your child, oh, come on, what is wrong with you? He's just looking at you. No. Ask the child, how does he look at you? Ask questions. Let the child feel like they can tell you anything.
Let the child know begins that to feel like fight for them. You will fight for them.
My brother does something amazing with his girls. There's one of them, the youngest one, he calls her champion. He just talks to her and lets her feel like she's anything. Now that girl, if you tell that girl that her father cannot do something, she will swear it's a lie. She will swear it's a lie. She was watching Superman one day and she was saying, my daddy can do this thing. I looked at her, I said, really? Your daddy can jump from one building to another. But she believes it that much because he has put it so much in her that daddy is here for you. He can do anything for you. If you don't do that with your children.
With my dad, the same thing.
Honestly, I believe that the responsibility lies more on the mother. The reason I'm saying so, not because men don't have their own responsibility in bringing up children, but I believe that a woman is more emotionally inclined to her children. And if you check what even the Bible says, I heard Pastor O say this morning, she said, a bad child is the mother's child. A good child belongs to the father. Where's the father's name? So for your own sanity and for the fact that you know that they will tell you that this child is your fault, that this child is bad, why don't you just find a way to make sure that that child is whole? Make sure your child is whole, because it hinges mainly on you as the mother. You are the one that is more emotional. The father is more logical. Fill in that space and understand how you can help your child. Let your child understand what it means to be a whole woman. You know the struggles you had when you were growing up. Why would you now decide that you will not let your child go through this path painlessly? Why would you decide that I've gone through my own, you to go through your own? No, that's why you're a mother. Be the bridge to make sure this child doesn't go through went through. What is the point of now having a better generation if you don't have anything to pass on to that generation?
Yes. Wow, Tega.
It is our responsibility to make sure we have something to pass on to the next generation. They must be better than we are. We must make sure we must be better than our parents. We must be better parents than our parents were, because we know how their parenting style shaped us. We know how their parenting style, marred us or made us. Why don't we now find ways of,
and do the opposite?
Do the opposite. Make it better. Just do something. Just make sure that your child doesn't have to go through the things that you went through. I
Yes.
believe so very strongly, very strongly. But sometimes when you talk, some people will say to you, but you don't have children, so you don't
You
understand
don't have
what
children.
it
Oh,
is.
okay, so like the next time that they say this, because you don't have children and I don't have children, but guess what? We have wounds, we have demons that we've had to deal with in our own life because we were also
Exactly.
raised in homes and people have touched us inappropriately and we have dealt with those same wounds, and we are trying to educate you on how not to allow that happen to
Make sure
your
you
own
make
child.
mistake. Fantastic.
So don't
That's the
tell me
answer that
that,
I give
because
now.
I used to be a
That's
teacher
great.
when I went to Nigeria for like 2 or 3 years. I was a teacher, and it's amazing what these students were going through. It's amazing that some of the parents had no shame. Their parents will call me, thank you so much for even being there. Oh, you know that me, I am very, very busy. Thank God that they have you. I had mothers who were using blade and slicing their children's hands as a form of punishment, cutting their hair as a form of punishment. When you're doing all of that,
Let me tell you
when
what,
her father touches her tomorrow, she can't tell you.
tell you. She will never be able to tell you. There's someone I know that also her father's what's it called? Her father's driver, the houseboy, all of them were sleeping with her in the
They
house.
can't tell
But
anyone.
she couldn't say a word to her mother, be out of fear. Because they in fact they told her that come and wash the plates. And she will say if she doesn't want to, they'll say if you don't come now, we will tell your mommy you refuse to wash the plates. So they were blackmailing her, knowing that her mom will flog her if she finds out that they report her for not doing house chores, and then they were sleeping with her, raping her at age 6, 7, 8.
Good. So when a woman goes through that type of thing and she gets married tomorrow, of course she cannot give you her 100. It's either she gives you over 100, which means that she's a codependent wife, and trust me, you don't want a codependent spouse, or she's going to be way under. She can't, like, she's skeptical. She is skeptical because of that abuse that she went through, sleeping with your brother, sleeping with your cousin, sleeping with all of these people. And now she's managed to tell you, and you told her that she's lying, or you don't listen. When a major thing happens, big, you would never know about it.
There's something else that happens with people like this when you they get abused, either whether it's incestuous or not. When they leave that environment, they go elsewhere. It's almost like there is a mark upon them. Somebody else always abuses them.
Yes, you start to look for love. Mine was not incest. Mine was that I was really, really seeking for love. I wanted it
But
like so
no,
bad, and I
attention.
wanted validation so bad that I didn't even consider like the types of people that I was with before I got married. And it was so major. It was just so bad. I
It's
was
because
all
of
over the place.
what's that thing? It's because of the view you have of yourself that makes you decide that you don't the view you have of yourself makes you feel like you don't deserve better. So you begin to just look for
Yes.
the lowest kind of people that you feel you deserve.
Yes,
And
and
meanwhile, really, those are the kind of people that you should be with. It happened
yes,
to me, so I know what you're saying.
well, because we attract who we are, and that's why it's
Absolutely.
important, and that's why it's important that we are emotionally healed. In my case, I had abandonment issues. So in my head, like, there's no point trying to create a bond with anybody because they're gonna leave anyway.
Omenesa, let me tell you something. That is exactly what I say to everybody. Up until now, I started having to, make a mental note. I can't have close friendships because I keep thinking you're going to leave me anyway.
Oh,
I even had to, recently, I was telling Pastor O that even with my husband for a long time, and he's sitting here in front of me. I
hi,
had
honey.
to tell Pastor O that I had to tell Pastor O that I always feel like, well, he's going to go anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt until recently, I had to tell myself that he's not going anywhere. But for a long time, and this is my 8th year in marriage, I used to tell myself that one day now I'll hear that he's not coming back when he's in Germany. when he's in Germany. I'll just hear he's not coming back. And I guarded my heart so badly. I put a wall around me in my mind. I will leave you before you leave me. So I didn't emotionally attach to anybody. So every time anybody came too close, I became suspicious. What do you want? What do you want? Including female friends. I'm thinking, what do you want? Don't come too close, because I didn't want to deal with my abandonment issues. My mom left Nigeria when I was like maybe 6 or 7, and then I felt like she abandoned me, and that was the age that I just wanted to have the love of a mother. My sister was in uni, the other one just got married, so I really felt out of place with boys in the house. So then it took me from there and took me to my sister's house. My sister felt I was spoiled, and then she always kept trying to, mold me to be better. This girl, you're too spoiled. So she beat me quite a lot. And so I felt really, I felt really bad that my mom left me in the hands of someone that was just beating me. But I didn't know she was trying to mold me in the way she thought best to do. And then so I really felt very, I felt very unloved. I felt very unloved, really unloved. I won't lie to you. So by the time I got into, I failed SSC, and most people know my story anyway. By the time I failed SSC and went to stay with my other sister, it was now a case of go back to Lagos. You failed SSC. I say, me, I'm not going back there. If you put me on the road, I will get lost midway, because they will beat me and kill me, because I came from being extremely intelligent to failing, entrance exams into the university. So it was a mess. But I always felt like I wasn't loved. And then after a while, I needed to go and start my life. So I just always felt out of place. Why am I the one that nobody wants? So instead of now being sorry for myself, I flipped it, and instead I built a wall around myself. Don't come too close. When you want to become too friendly, I beg, day your day. So that I don't want you to leave me. I didn't want to be the one to be left. I wanted to be the one to leave all the time. So I don't have to go through. Yes. So I don't have to go through the emotions of, oh, this one has left me again. I didn't want to have to go through that. So instead, I was the one leaving people. And the unfortunate part about that is you can't build bonds that way.
No.
You can't build friendships that way. You can't even intimacy in marriage can be a problem unless you deal with those issues.
Yes, like
crazy.
Like I am 36 this year, and it's no. Oh my goodness, I'm 37. I will be 37 this year. And as grown as I am just now healing from those things. And I'm just now noticing, oh, this is why when your husband got a job in London, because he got a job in London, and I just assumed that he was never going to come back. Because when I was way younger, I was thrown in boarding school when I was 9 years old. And I was very, very short, and I was an only child. Now, as a full-grown woman, when I look back, like, my parents didn't have a choice because of what they were going through then. But you see, parents, your children they don't know what's going on. So whenever you're making a decision, you still have to make a decision that is mentally good for them. Not just physically good, not just financially good, but mentally, physically, but mentally sound for them,
Absolutely.
Yeah, mentally sound for them. Like, we really, really need to do a topic on abandonment issues, because a lot of people are suffering with that, because you can't build close friendships. It's just recently that I started to take the risk of going out shopping with you, or the risk of being your friend. And then, Tega, another thing is that because I'm so used to people leaving, and when I notice that they're still hanging on, subconsciously, which is self-sabotage, subconsciously, I start looking for a reason to make that person leave.
Oh, yes. In fact, I'm happy where you're going. I'm thinking, yes, I knew it. Let's stress for me. Yes,
exactly. Absolutely. And then when they leave, then you tell yourself, I said it. Didn't I say it? I knew that they will leave now. How would they leave?
They were looking for something in the first place.
But the problem is you. The problem
Absolutely.
The problem is you. Yes. Your parents did what they did because their parents also raised them in the same way. Hurting people hurt people. You can't give from a deficit. You can only give from an overflow. And whatever you have is what you're going to give. So there's no point being
Absolutely.
angry at your mom for not listening, angry at this and angry at that. And you know what, Tega? You can't even be a better mother. You can't be a better mother when you yourself, you haven't healed.
You must heal. You must heal. Unless you are going to dump the same toxin on the offspring, who will now dump on their own, and then we have the vicious circle going, and then we now say it's a family pattern. It's a demonic family pattern.
That's true. Tega, so just give us like one last word so that we could sign out. Everybody, hey, if you joined midway, we have been talking about incest. I have an organization for men and women who seek emotional healing. We have 72 branches. God is good. And Tega came to our WhatsApp group and she spoke on incest, and a lot of people asked their questions and stuff, and so we brought it on here on Facebook to continue. And so now we are about to head out. And Tega, what would you say for people who are who have been involved in incest? How can they heal?
First of all, like I said earlier, you need to first of all come into acceptance of the fact that this is what has happened to you. Accept that it has happened. Accept that you want to leave, because there is no point dragging you out of incest if you're not ready to stop it.
Oh yeah.
Because no matter how far will drag you out, you will still find your way coming back, because you have become dependent on the act. You have become dependent on the person. You have to accept that this has happened. You have to accept that you're ready to leave, and then begin your emotional healing. You have to find someone. You can look for how to get, if you some people go to church. You can talk to your pastor, someone that you trust absolutely, not someone that's going to use these things against you, not someone that is going to taunt you with these matters. You have to find someone that you absolutely trust, someone that will help you get through it. If you want to find a licensed therapist, by all means do. If you find someone that you are emotionally attached to that can help you, by all means do. But you must heal from inside. Someone said something about confronting your abuser. You can't confront your abuser
if you've not
without
confronted
healing.
yourself.
You must confront yourself first.
You must
stand in front of your mirror and get in touch with yourself, understand what you're going through, accept what you're going through, internalize it, deal with it, and begin to heal. If you keep opening a physical wound, it never really heals. So go through the process, live it, deal with it, accept it, and then go through the process of healing. Then you can find ways of reaching out to your abuser and forgiving yourself, then forgiving your abuser. But you must forgive yourself first.
And then if you're still living in the home with the person with your father who is sleeping with you, or your mother, obviously like you're 15 and you can't leave the house, what do they do?
In Africa, for instance, we know that there's always a relative that you can run to.
Okay.
Africa is like that. There's always a relative that you can run to. You can even run to your church. You can run to your pastor's house, and the trusted person that you have chosen to speak to, and the person will probably house you.
Okay.
Knowing that this is what has happened. The person in Africa, we know that in more Western countries, they have safe houses where they can keep them for some time.
Oh yes. And
where they can keep them from the abuse. But if you have accepted that you're going through abuse and you need to get out of there, you must get out of there. And the truth about God is, God always makes a way for you. God will always make a way for you. And I am a Christian, so I will say, God will make a way for you the moment you decide that you need to find a way.
Yes.
If he could part the sea for Israelites to pass through, and that same sea drowned the Egyptians, trust me, he will make a way for you to find help if you need to find help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tega, for being here. Thank you so much. Like what we got is that your childhood wounds, they will be repetitive. They will keep on happening in different. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here today. Remember, Pearls and Pauls International, my organization, every Tuesday, and we have a conference. Next week conference is on identity crisis. So we are going to be talking about that. I suffered from identity crisis big time. It was when I got into my 30s that I really started to work on my identity as me, and not being attached to my talent or being attached to my name or anything like that. So I would really want you to be there. And remember that my emotional healing school, we opened June the 1st, 2020. I am so excited. It's $20 in America for 3 months, and it's 5,000 naira for those of you who are Nigerians and would like to join. You can inbox me and I'll send you all the information. Today we talked about incest. First of all, please get yourself healed, okay? Whether you went through incest or not, get yourself healed from childhood wounds, because hurting people hurt people. And this is why a lot of marriages are breaking and a lot of marriages are hurting, because we keep on expecting people to do the change, but let's do the change. If you're still living with somebody, if you're living with your father is having sex with you, you're living with your mother and your mother is having sex with you, go report it, because you're young, so you're kind of stuck because like you're in the house. So you do have to report it. Now, if you're somebody who has already grown and now you're married and everything, but you suffered from incest, you may find out that you're a skeptical person. You don't bond with people. It's very hard for you to have sex with anybody, or you throw yourself at men, or you throw yourself at women because you are seeking for validation. So if that's you, please seek a licensed counselor, seek an emotional coach. There are a lot of countries that have insurance for counseling, so you have access. But like our guest speaker said, you yourself, you have to want to heal, because like some people actually do get used to incest. Like some people do get used to that because it's kind of like a safe haven, because this is your father and this is your mother, this is not a stranger out there like who's gonna hurt you. But the truth of the matter is, if you keep doing that, one day it's gonna hurt other aspects of your life. So I am gonna be here tomorrow again at 12 noon. I'm always here at 12 noon American time, or 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And my guest usually comes on Thursdays, and then on Tuesdays I bring in the guest speakers that had to come to my organization. So anyway, thank you so much for being here today. Remember, healing, nobody is going to heal you. Nobody. You have to heal yourself, and you have to be wanting to heal. All of those childhood wounds, how your father raised his hands on you, how your mother beat you, how they sliced you, how they shaved your head, how they threw you into boarding school. You have to forgive them. In their head, they just did like abuse begets abuse. So if your parents were not healed, of course they passed that on to you. And if you're not healed, there is something in your marriage or something in your parenting that mimics your past. If you're honest with yourself, there is something in your marriage or in your parenting or even with your colleagues that mimic where you're coming from. So you have to break that. You have to break that cycle. You have to say enough is enough. You are no longer a victim. Open a new door. Open a new door so you can walk out, and so other people will not have to suffer from your bleeding. And remember, you can always stop the wound. You can always stop yourself from bleeding. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.